Hi, how's it going? So today I'm sharing my favorite mental health books for all ages and emotional well-being, just books that kind of have this like emotional kind of side to them. Now, this is very hard for my bookshelves because I have a lot of books that I felt like could have possibly fit in this category, but I wanted to keep it kind of the ones that are a little bit more literal about feelings and emotions, when you could make the argument that so many things like music, books, novels bring out feelings and emotions, but these are like a little more literal, like what you would find, like some of them are a little bit more like you would find a mental health category, and some are a little bit more vague. But I'm going to go over all of them, and I put them in order from age, youngest to oldest. So youngest would be, I would say, like four or five, in like traditional picture book age, like elementary to middle grade. And then I have the second half of the video is mostly adult mental health books that are my favorite from my own bookshelf. Okay, let's get started. Thank you so much for being here. It's okay to make mistakes. So this one is a cute little book just about making mistakes, which I think will be perfect for like pre-K and kindergarten age. I'm not brave enough. I feel scared, says Little Bear. That's okay, says Otter. Being brave does not mean not being afraid. Being brave means feeling scared and jumping in anyway. I'm also going to link everything in the description. Okay, so these are two older guys, but they're still great. I Knew You Could, a book for all the stops in your life. I know a lot of people give these books out for like graduation and little events, and I think it's appropriate for so many different ages, but I'm just putting it in the younger category. It's just all about motivating, having confidence in yourself. You'll go through tunnels surrounded by dark, and you'll wish for a light or even a spark. You might get scared or a little bit sad, wondering if maybe your track has gone bad. But here's some advice to help ease you out. The track you took in must also go out. So it has lots of little philosophical tidbits. This is a classic that I think could fit loosely in the mental health category. Oh, the places you'll go, Dr. Seuss, another classic. Also talks about like doubt. All alone, whether you like it or not, alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that might scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. So it's just, again, a little inspirational book, but I thought I'd include in this video. This one is directly about feelings. It's Sometimes I Feel, Menagerie of Feelings Big and Small. The author is Sarah Maycock. Illustrations are gorgeous. Sometimes I feel big as a bear, but there will always be someone bigger than me, and sometimes I will feel small. It also addresses like melancholy feelings, and I like that. And fear. So this is A Fox and the Star by Coralie Bickford Smith. I collect her work. All of her picture books are beautiful. She also illustrates beautiful adult like classics, like novels. I have some of those too. But yeah, so this one's beautiful. It's a beautiful story about believing in yourself and facing your fears. It's about a fox who is like really, let's see. There was a fox who lived in deep dense forest for as long as Fox could remember. His only friend had been Star, who who lit the forest paths each night. But then one night Star was not there, and Fox had to face the darkness alone. So it's just about that, like facing your fears alone. And I think it's a real confidence booster. It's also just a really beautiful picture book to read anytime, not necessarily for mental health, but just in general. And look at the illustrations. So this is another one of my favorite illustrators. This is Isabelle Arsenault. This is written by Kat Yeah. Just one little light. If you're afraid, just take one breath and hold these words safely within. Your one little light cannot light the whole sky, but it is enough to begin. It's another little just like picture book about confidence and believing in yourself when you find yourself in the dark, the deepest dark, the darkest dark. Remind yourself you always have a light. So it's just, again, about like kind of, you know, that emotional feeling that we might have when we're sad. And it's just like, I love books like this. Hope. Hope is the message. And the illustrations are gorgeous. So this one is Virginia Woolf, Kyle McClear, and again, illustrated by Isabelle Arsenault. She's one of my favorite illustrators. So this one deals with like depression. I don't know if it really calls it that, but it's loosely based, I think, on, it says, loosely inspired by the writer Virginia Woolf and her older sister, painter Vanessa Bell. So it deals with a lot of feelings and about each child going through feelings differently and how to handle, it's like shows you how to handle how some people deal with their feelings. It portrays how some people handle their feelings versus others, about needing space. Some people might need space. And let's see. I did my best to cheer her up. I offered her treats. She wolfed them all down, but it made no difference. Nothing pleased her. Not the cat, not my violin, not even making faces at our brother. She pulled up the covers and said, "Leave me alone." Then she said nothing to anybody. So it's like two sisters. One is going through a lot of feelings. A lot of strong feelings. And again, it's just like a picture book about dealing with emotions. Beautiful. So this one I checked out from the library, but it's on my list of books I want to purchase. It's A Shelter for Sadness. I actually requested it from my library, and they purchased it. Anne Booth and David Litchfield. So this is a small boy who builds a shelter for his sadness, where it can be quiet, run around, and anything in between. The boy can visit his sadness whenever he wants to. So again, it's about expressing your feelings and like it's okay to feel sad. I like that reinforcement of teaching children and adults that it's okay to have your feelings. It's okay to have big feelings. It's okay to show, and it's all about that. I really thought about titling this video something to do with crying, but I changed my mind because I didn't find a lot of resources just about crying. I checked out every single book that my library had on fear, anxiety, crying, emotion, stuff like that, and there really wasn't a whole lot that they had in general, just like about crying. So I just decided to do like more of a compilation of just like emotions. But I have one favorite book to show you guys that I have about crying from younger ages. But yeah, so I just thought I really wanted to like build a whole collection just on like books about tears and crying. There's not a lot out there. This is my favorite one. I haven't bought it yet, but I promise I will eventually get it very soon. It's like on my very small like to buy next books. This is Why Do We Cry? And she has another one out. I think it's like something about fear. This one's written by Fran Pentadera, illustrated by Anna Cinder. This one's gorgeous. The message is so phenomenal. It's a little boy asking his mom, why do you cry? And she's giving him all these explanations. And then in the back, it has like a little nonfiction section on tears. Sometimes we cry for a lot of reasons, Mario. Sometimes we cry because the sadness we feel is so great we just can't contain it. Other times we cry because we're full of anger. It's the best book I've ever found for picture book age, picture book on tears and crying. Specifically. And it has that nonfiction section that I love. You could use this also educationally in homeschool. Now this is a whole series. I just brought out one. We're collecting the series. Pretty much almost everything that Kobi Yamada writes is philosophical and like could fit in this category. But I just brought out this one. What do you do with a problem? And this one is a little bit more literal about a problem, but yet you can have all these feelings behind, you know, not succeeding and things like that. And I love these books. You know, it's about facing your problem. These are all picture books I wish I would have had when I was in elementary school, because I was a very shy kid, and sometimes I'd cry at school because I had to change schools, long story, move out of my family of origins home, and I had a very, 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 very hard time around 3rd, 4th, even up to 6th grade, and I wish I would have had books like this. I really do. So that's why I really, really enjoy making these videos. Okay. So this is another one I found at the library called Big Boys Cry. And I don't know if I'd purchased this one, but I wanted to share it. The author is John T. Howley. It is an actual message that, you know, I did hear a lot when I was a kid of like, you know, boys don't cry, or not even boys don't cry. Like I used to try to cover my tears and was very embarrassed to cry. I even as an adult don't really like crying in front of people. But, you know, so his dad pretty much told him, big boys don't cry, because he really didn't like have the words for the sadness that his son felt about going and starting school. And then so this whole book explores that that's not the truth. And I like the message. I really like the message. I mean, maybe I would purchase it. I don't know why I said that. But, I mean, I think... But it has a really good message about how it's okay to cry. Boy, girl, anything. Anyone. Okay. Now... those were all like the traditional picture book age. Now these are still, I have 2 more picture books, but I would say these could be any age, but I would say like a little bit like older picture book reader and getting into more like adults. Okay. Well, middle grade. So these, of course, Shel Silverstein. These are, of course, picture books made for children, but I've really, really, really enjoyed these as an adult and reading these with my daughter at a lot of different ages. But this is a missing piece. So this is the second one, The Missing Piece Meets the Big O. This book has such a deep philosophical message about idealizing what you think you want or need, getting it, and then realizing it's really not what you want or need. And it's just phenomenal. And what if you just need yourself? Like, what if that's good enough? It is good enough. Like, you are what you need. And I don't know if kids really, you could still read it to any age, but I don't know if they would. I guess I think it would be really nice to have a conversation about this book after you read it with maybe a little bit older, elementary age. And this is the second one. Again, very similar message, very philosophical. Some had too many pieces missing. Some had too many pieces, period. It learned to hide from the hungry ones. More came, some looked too closely. Also, this one also about like having confidence in yourself. Love them. Now this one's definitely middle grade on up. It's like Happy Healthy Minds by the School of Life. Now my daughter read this in 5th grade as an independent read for like a little mental health unit. And it's just like a little book to read about all the different things. And it has illustrations. So I have quite a few books from the School of Life to show you for adults because I collect the School of Life. I was happy to find that they made something for a younger reader. Okay, you guys, so that's the last one that is like, younger audience. Now I'm getting into the adult books. So my favorite recent find on mental health is The Healing Power of Tears, The Art of Crying by Pepita Sandwich. I've showed this book recently a lot. So if you watched all of my videos or my recent ones, it's redundant, so I apologize. This was one of my favorite books I read so far in 2024. But basically, it's all about tears. She talks about like her own personal crying and expressing herself. And then she also includes a lot of like nonfiction things about tears and crying and showing your emotions. I really like she has a section on movies that make you cry, might make you cry, make her cry. And she talks about like music and movies and books. Here's a crying playlist she has. It's fun to make your own. I actually have a cry playlist on Spotify. She talks about, here's the movies. Movies that really make me cry. Oh my gosh. Still Magnolias. Every time. I cannot watch that movie without crying. Fried Green Tomatoes is another one. Let's see. E.T., the scene where he's in the hospital. I can barely watch that. Also, The Neverending Story. Oh my gosh. The scene with the horse. The Wizard of Oz can be a little bit emotional for me when the witch takes Toto. And also at the end, like, it's like bittersweet. And yeah, I would say Still Magnolia is like my number one. Oh yeah, Beaches with Bette Midler. Terms of Endearment, that movie can make me cry. But Still Magnolia is 100% of the time. Oh my gosh, like every time. And then I find like with music, I've researched this and movies are the same. It's so personal with every person. Like she has Spirited Away and Dancer in the Dark. Dancer in the Dark is one of the saddest movies I've ever seen in my whole life by Lars von Trier, but it doesn't make me personally cry. And then You've Got Mail doesn't make me cry, but this is like her suggestion. So this is like very personal. I love You've Got Mail though. I watch it every Christmas because it has like a Christmas scene. But okay, so songs I find also are very personal because it could mean it reminds you of a time in your life where that song like impacted you in some way and when someone else wouldn't relate to that. And like, so she has like Crying by Roy Orbison, which of course is literally called Crying, about crying. But then she has like, let's see, She has I Found the Reason by the Velvet Underground, Mother Nature's Son by the Beatles. So, and then I made my own crying playlist on Spotify because she also talks about there's a man in, like, I think he's in Japan, who actually helps people cry because it's like an emotional release, and that's how it is for me. And so he's actually like a tear teacher, like an emotional crying teacher. And so I know sometimes, oh, here he is. Hidefumi is his first name, and then Yoshida is his second name. He's a self-described tears teacher who travels around Japan to encourage adults to cry. Crying, he proclaims therapy is a way to detoxify the mind by forcing yourself to shed tears. And so he has people watch videos and things like that. So I read things about, okay, let me just say, I feel better when I cry. So my songs that make me cry actually are three. Two were because I chose them and they played at my grandfather's funeral. So my grandfather really, really loved country music. And of course I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, so he loved, like the classics and stuff like that. But so for his funeral, I picked I Will Always Love You by Dolly Parton because I thought it would be like my grandmother to him. So I Will Always Love You by Dolly Parton definitely makes me cry. And then I also picked Go Rest High Over That Mountain. He was like a Catholic and he liked country, so I picked Go Rest High Over That Mountain by Vince Gill. And that song never made me cry before his funeral, but now if I need a good cry, every single time it makes me cry. It played at his funeral, of course. And then also there's a video on YouTube of Vince Gill singing that song at George Jones's funeral, and people were actually crying in the video, and that just like lays it on thick. And I can, like, I'm not saying I'm happy that they're crying. I'm saying, like, watching other people express their emotions with the same song that helps me get out a cry. And then the third song that makes me cry, so a country song. Now I like all types of music: rock, rap, country, old country, and classic rock, stuff like that. All kind of, even Zydeco, classical. I love classical. Anyway, is it also country songs? Some about country songs. Maybe because I listened to them so much because my grandparents, they raised me. So the third one is The Dance by Garth Brooks. Now, that song just personally resonates with how I feel in my life, and it makes me cry. Those are my 3 cry songs. But yeah, I talked enough about this book and about crying. I just wanted to share that with you guys. So it is a release for me. Okay. Now, let me start with the general anxiety books, and then I'm going to go into the specifics, the specific mental health books. I have mental health books on anxiety, OCD, depression, and just general, like another book on crying. Let me start with the crying one first, because I just did the other book on crying. So this is Crying: The Natural and Cultural History of Tears by Tom Lutz. Okay. This one is like nonfiction, of course. I mean, they're both nonfiction, but this one's like a little bit more dry, because it doesn't have the illustrations, of course, but it does have some images, like real photos of people and stuff like that, and all these references about like tears and photography with tears and like just the history of tears. Very like in depth if you like reading about like analytical nonfiction about crying and tears. So, and table of contents, and this is like a list of illustrations, but I liked it. I'm actually thinking about rereading it. So yeah, it's like just nonfiction book about crying, and he has all these references on like social norms and modern and like past, like all of the, he has just a lot of references like where people talk about crying from an educational point of view, from an art point of view, media, things like that. I like stuff like that. Okay. So this one, let me show you guys. I have a whole collection from the School of Life. Now, they have a lot of books that I want to buy, and these are the 4 that I own, including the one I already showed you, which was like the middle grade, but this is Anxiety on Mental Illness, the Meaning of Life, and How to Overcome Your Childhood. So I'll start with this one. I literally just read this one like last month. This is my least favorite. It doesn't have illustrations in it, and it's just about having a difficult childhood. It's like not many sections. It's just like childhood-derived challenges and ways forward. The main way forward it talks about in this book is like psychotherapy, which I'm already in. I kind of wish it would have like went a little bit more into, I mean, it's really hard to literally overcome your childhood if you had a traumatic childhood, but like me. But I'm still working on it. It's always going to be a work in progress, I believe, for me. And it's not like a golden answer in this book. But it was a good read. I did learn some things. And yeah, it was just a very short. Okay, so this one's just like the meaning of life. And this one's, they're not really like mental health books. They're just kind of like more philosophical. But I thought I would include them. It's like different sources of meaning for people. Obstacles to meaning. And so yeah, this one does have some illustrations. They really love art and architecture, the School of Life, and I like the references. It makes it very interesting. So this one's on mental illness. And this is all like the table of contents. So this one has illustrations. I really liked this one and the meaning of life. It references a lot of art, which I like. I have an art degree, I have an art background, so I really like stuff like that, like kind of artsy mental health books. That's what these remind me of. And also they're a little shorter. They're not like big, giant, like more clinical type books, anything like that. It's more like quick kind of overviews of mental health and philosophical subjects. And then this one is Anxiety, Meditations on the Anxious Mind, and boy am I anxious. So I have read so many anxiety books over the past 5-6 years, and yeah, so this is different table of contents. This one I really liked. You can tell I bookmarked a lot of different things. This one has a lot of illustrations. Overthinking, yes, I'm an overthinker. I really like this one. Okay, now, so now another anxiety book. I have 3 favorite books as far as more actual self-help books on anxiety. Well, the first one's more of a memoir, but these are my 3 favorite anxiety books. Also this one, but my 3 favorite anxiety mental health books that I've read over the past 5 or more years. This one is my very favorite because I just really connected with the author. It was a little bit less self-help. It was a little bit more of a memoir. First, We Make the Beast Beautiful, A New Journey Through Anxiety by Sarah Wilson. And I read other books by her, but I think this is her only book on mental health. I loved this book. I've read it twice. And her writing is very conversational, the way she writes. It's not dry at all. And she also talks about her experience with anxiety in her childhood up until now. I mean now, when she wrote the book. And she also references some songs and different things about culture and how she deals with her anxiety. And I really, 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 really related to her. And I would say it helped me a lot, even though it's not written. She's not a psychiatrist. She's not a psychologist. She's just a person dealing with mental health. So it's written, it's not, that's why it's not as clinical. She's like a journalist, entrepreneur. So yeah, she's not, it's not coming from like a doctor's point of view. And the other ones, some of the other ones are, but yeah, but I really connected more with anxiety books written that weren't written by psychologists. I don't know why. I guess because it's like you can relate to them more. I'm not saying some psychologists don't have anxiety issues, because I definitely have picked up those too. But yeah, I loved it. I highly recommend this book to anyone who has anxiety. So this one is another memoir. I don't know why I said this. I forgot I had another memoir. This is Monkey Mind, Daniel Smith. So I believe he is also a journalist. So he's also a journalist. He's not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything like that. So I related to this one too. And he also talks about like his history of anxiety, like his childhood and his, up to when he's currently writing this book and things like that. And it's just like, he gives a lot of personal stories, just like Sarah Wilson did. And I just really liked it. It's really hard to describe a memoir without reading it, but I will say that if you have anxiety disorder or you just struggle with anxiety, I think it's a very good read. And then this one, I specifically was looking for books that deal with health anxiety. I've tried every book under the sun, I promise you, that says that they deal with health anxiety. And this one isn't specifically about health anxiety, but it's On Edge, A Journey Through Anxiety by Andrea Pearson. Now, she is also a journalist. She's not like a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So she is a contributing writer at the Wall Street Journal. And so she talks about like general anxiety, but she has like one part in this book where she does specifically talk about a health anxiety incident that she had where she went to the hospital. I'm not going to really say it to give anything away, but it's not like a novel and a secret, but she talks about a specific incident where she like had like a panic attack and went to the hospital like thinking it was like she was dying or something worse than what it, not like she thought it was something worse than what it was, not because of the panic attack, but because she was panicking and it really wasn't anything to worry about. And I've had those experiences, like going to the doctor, going to the doctor too much, or going to the hospital, like checking myself in the ER when I didn't have a life-threatening illness, but I thought I did. So she had a scene in here, but then in general, I haven't read this one in a while, so yeah, but I definitely related to it a lot. And I love it. Okay, so my last two are, a little bit more clinical. I believe they're both written by doctors. So this one is Undoing Depression by Richard O'Connor, PhD. What therapy doesn't teach you and medication can't give you. And let's see, is he a psychologist? Okay, so Richard O'Connor, the writer, is a psychotherapist. So this one is one of my only books I actually owned. I own that I like that actually is written by a psychotherapist versus just, like I said, like a person struggling with anxiety. And I'm not sure if he talks about his own experience with anxiety or not, because I read this one a while ago too. I don't really struggle with depression. I have no diagnosis with clinical depression or anything like that. I do have anxiety diagnoses, but I do struggle sometimes with mild depression and things like this. And I read a lot of books on depression. This was my most helpful one. And it's just like the table of contents. So yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I mean, it's like I said, it's more clinical. It's a little bit more dry because it's written as a technical self-help book, but I did enjoy it. And then this one is Needing to Know for Sure, a CBT-based guide for overcoming compulsive checking and reassurance seeking. So this one's also written by doctors / psychologists or psychiatrists. So a behavioral psychologist and then a master clinician, possibly a psychologist, I'm not sure what. Okay, so this one also is like a more technical, like self-help book about OCD. And I struggle with OCD. I have struggle with compulsive checking and reassurance seeking, and mine is more based on health anxiety and germs and things like that. But I found this book, I bought a lot of books, I tried a lot of books about OCD, and this one was the most helpful by far for me personally, and I highly recommend it if you struggle with overcoming compulsive checking and reassurance seeking behaviors. Yeah. Yeah, I really liked how they have the 4 mindful steps of therapeutic surrender, which is like DEAF. It's called, the acronym is like DEAF, but it's like DEAF, distinguish the trap from a real emergency. E, embrace the feeling of uncertainty. A, avoid reassurance. And F, float above the feeling of discomfort and let more time pass. Now, I think it's a book you have to like, I personally feel like I have to reread because I kind of just like forget, but it really helped me a lot. And then I actually really need to reread it because it's an ongoing battle for me with flare-ups with OCD. But yeah. So that's all of my mental health books. I really hope you guys enjoy. Please consider liking and commenting. It really helps me find out what people respond to that are watching. And thank you so much for watching in general, this video or any of my videos. Have a good day or night. Bye.